peace and all good blessings be yours, brothers and sisters. On behalf of the friars here at the Old Mission, on behalf of our pastoral staff at St. Barbara's Parish, and on behalf of the whole staff of Old Mission Santa Barbara, I greet you with a message of hope as we reflect together on the texts that are presented to us for this fifth Sunday of Lent. We are filming here in the cemetery of the Old Mission, which I think is a very appropriate place to be reflecting on these readings, each one of which is charged with symbols of death and the power of the Spirit moving through all of those signs to bring about something new. And I don't think there's a better time to be reflecting on these texts than at this moment when we find our lives and our world, I dare say, upended by this COVID-19 drama and reality, which is bringing so much fear and death and destruction into the world. These readings offer us something important. This is also a very appropriate place because the wind is blowing, and I hear that as the wind of the Spirit, which is also referenced in each one of our texts. Beginning with Ezekiel, the great prophet of the exile, who was charged as a prophet to speak to a community exiled to Babylon, far from home. And more importantly, it was Ezekiel's task as a prophet to prepare that people for the news that Jerusalem would be destroyed. Yes, their homeland, the heart of their social and religious and faith life, was going to be extinguished. And yet, in the last 10 chapters of his book, Ezekiel brings forward a vision of a restoration of which these exiles, he believed, were to be the leaders of a restored Israel. I think it's something we need to hear today in the midst of our own exile of necessary isolation. Paul picks up the same theme in the letter to the Romans with his reference to the power of the Spirit at work in Jesus Christ, the same Spirit that is extended to all those who are baptized in his name, to bring forth a newness and a rising life that will create something new in God's goodness, as we see in the person of Christ himself. In John's Gospel, we see Christ dramatizing all of these themes as we find him at the tomb of Lazarus, actually on a journey toward that tomb to give his great summons. I think for the Gospel reading, it's best to take a page from Father Barber, who prepared us during those first weeks of Lent with a way of reflecting on Scripture that asks us to place ourselves in the scene with the characters, with the sounds and the smells that surround this great scene. No better text than this text from John to exercise that kind of prayer and reflection. But in the end, it's the great summons of Jesus as he stands at the face of that tomb that comes as a summons to all of us to step out from our fear, from our paralysis, from our doubt, whatever might be wrapping us like burial cloths, to step forward from that, to experience the very presence and power of risen life, even now. So brothers and sisters, again, on behalf of the extended community of the mission, the staffs and the friars, I wish you peace and consolation and the power of the Spirit.